Each morning I get up, I dial it up. Can't barely stand on my feet. Can't anybody find me?
Yes, so Hairless here. Today we have a patron request that sounds pretty cool. It's an a cappella cover of Queen's song Somebody to Love, and it's by Jared Halley. I love Queen, I love this song. I'd never heard of Jared Halley, I've never heard him sing, but it seems that he does multi-track a cappella works. So he records himself multiple times, puts them on the screen and shows us the final product. With multi-track a cappella such as this, the possibilities are quite literally endless. In this performance we can see 20 squares on screen. So will this be 20 part? Is that just what he thought was a good number, but he's actually put many more parts in there? I don't know. But to do multi-track a cappella of this many voices, it's also expected that you have a massive range to be able to cover all of the appropriate parts. Otherwise, with a restricted range, the music very quickly becomes close harmony. Naturally, close harmony tends to be limited in the number of voices or layers you can use. So that's what I'm currently thinking. I think let's just get straight into it.
Can anybody find me somebody to love? Each morning I get up, I dial it up. Can't barely stand on my feet. Take a look in the mirror and cry. Oh, what you doing? I spent all my years in believing you, but I just can't get no relief. Oh, somebody, somebody, can anybody find me somebody to love? Yeah. I work hard every day of my life. I work till I ache in my bones. At the end of the day, I take home my heart and pay all on my own. I go down on my knees and I start to pray till the tears run down from my eyes. Oh, somebody, can anybody find me somebody to love?
Alright, before we get into the next bit. Whew, now this has substance, doesn't it? I'm loving the few squares he has as well, where he's just dancing around just to kind of fill in an empty square. Nice little touch. Yeah, let's do our first pause here. If you've not seen my videos before, this is where we pause and go over and analyse what we've just heard. So if you don't want to hear the analysis, go to the timestamp. Well, let's go back to the opening. And what an opening that was. He sounds a fair bit like Freddie. This opening, in the original song, it's iconic. And it is multiple voices with a bass part in there as well. Played on the piano. It just suits voice as well. The grouping of the parts and their motion. You have the bass part moving down and the upper parts moving up. And then the most noticeable thing to me here.
Find me.
He's repeated the top E flat up there. But it's now much quieter than we heard it before, which was kind of the pinnacle of that first phrase from the original opening. To now.
Find me.
This is the power of multi-tracking and post-production. You can still include notes that you otherwise wouldn't think to for a thicker texture and a wider breadth of sound. And you just make them quieter by turning down the volume. And I really like his style of each part obviously leaving and then entering when it's their turn. It makes it easier for viewers who like to focus on the individual parts with a visual aid. It could be cool if he wore a different colour shirt or something, maybe for a different voice type, so the bass parts in one colour, the tenors in another, altos in another, etc. But I do like the uniformity of everything being the same, all in the same shirt. It's quite a smart aesthetic. So his voice, my first thoughts, yeah, great voice. He seems to be more of a natural tenor. But he's still got a very, very solid bass sound, and the bass notes don't seem to be heavily produced either. He's just been singing down here, which for context is a good few notes lower than your typical choral bass might be expected to sing. But from the little I've heard of him so far, he definitely seems to be able to do it all, and importantly, he sounds great in each voice type as well, very natural sounding. And he also possesses this ability to seamlessly switch between his chest voice, his full voice, and his head voice, which also means that you can use a blended voice to great effect. Just in that little lick there, we heard a bit of everything. And for the beats, for the percussion, he's done a smart thing, I think, if you're not a pro beatboxer. I mean, he might be, but let's assume he isn't. In using multiple boxes, multiple layers to make one percussion sound, one drum set. For example, we've got the hi-hat. Each morning I get up, I dial it up. We've got the bass drum. And then I stand on my feet. Again, a very natural sound and gets the job done. A bit further on, I did find myself drawn to this particular Jared. What we hear in him there is this. This is an arrangement where you can listen to it so many times and focus on a different part each time. There's just so much going on. So that line that I just played, he's belting it in his chest voice. It goes to show how, with the power of technology, as we said earlier, you can kind of just turn them down. So he's singing really loud, powerfully, but it doesn't sound it in the final product. Because of this, it's almost like a different style of singing to live a cappella in some ways. I'm not saying that live a cappella is better than multi-track productionized a cappella or the other way around. They're just a different style, so the arrangements are done differently. You have different considerations to make when doing the arrangements. Of the louder parts, the top note that we hear next is again that E flat up here on the leaf of relief, but then on O just afterwards we hear one note above. But again, turned down so it's very, very quiet. Here there's a very nice arpeggiated section, very a cappella in style, making use of multiple voices, holding on to each line just as long as he wants to create this overlap effect. Yeah. That's something that I'd expect of voice play, for example. See how different it sounds to the original instrumentation. On the back of this, the same principle is applied to really bring out the rhythmic relation between the parts. Every day of my life, I work till I get my bone. What I mean by that is he's always making sure, pretty much, that every half beat there's one voice entering on a phrase. So we have 4 beats in a bar, and each beat is subdivided into 3 smaller beats. Chum 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 chum. So on each one of those sub beats, we tend to hear a part coming in. It's a very natural rhythmic driving force. Every day of my life, I work till I get. And his top parts, his top head voice is like a laser beam. We get such a pure tone. And as a man, in those ranges, the higher you go, the more difficult it is to pronounce your words. Very, very clear pronunciation here. And again, I just like to compliment the bass part, which is the top right box here. As I said before, I like how it's not overproduced. I mean, it doesn't really sound produced at all. I'm sure it is a bit, but yeah, I just love the natural sound of it. And his decision not to make it much louder, I think, is quite interesting. Usually the bass part is very prominent, but I think I can see why he's done this. It's generally a higher set arrangement in terms of pitch. So yeah, I think let's carry on. From what we've heard so far, the arrangement is very true to the original song. Harmonically speaking, there are no deviations at all. There are no completely new sections like we might see with some of the other a cappella groups, voice play, pentatonics, home free. So it's kind of a bit like a transcription, taking the song, dissecting it, and then transferring it for voices. It's a different type of arranging to, well, rearranging a song, I guess. I tried, but everybody wants to run me down. They say I'm going crazy. They say I got my water in my brain. I got no common sense. I got nobody left to believe.
rhythm. I just keep losing my beat. I'm okay, I'm alright. I ain't gonna face no defeat. I just gotta get out of this prison cell. Someday I'm gonna be free. Find me somebody.
Oof. Well, I think everyone knows this section coming up. A few things to go over from that second section we've just heard. I like his choice of changing up the vowel sounds and consonant combinations. So at this bit in the original song we hear these chords. Here he goes for a do-do-do sound. Which then makes the I sound on the next word, tried, much more noticeable. And it's this part in particular that comes in on this note.
I tried.
What that note is doing is turning a C-sharp chord into a dominant 7. If you've seen my videos before, we've talked about this chord a fair bit. It sets us up for a move to the chord 5 notes down from here. So we go 5 down from C-sharp and we end up here.
But everybody wants to run me down.
Really cemented by the ooh parts coming in on that note. Shortly afterwards, there's this nice climactic build-up.
I got nobody left to believe.
Into this guitar solo, and it's a great, great guitar sound. There has to be some kind of treatment or effect on the vocals here, right? Right? Surely? This is another very good example of what I was saying earlier about his seamless transition between his two voices. Chest voice and head voice. Utilising the blended voice here, it's in the perfect range for it. I particularly liked this lick on anybody. Very tight homophony between those parts. And then the first real harmonic addition that I noticed. As in, there's some difference to the original. Not much though. And it's the one line that goes... And that note is just delaying the arrival of this note, which is the note that fits into the chord there. So it's kind of like a suspension. Alright, let's carry on till the end.
Find me somebody to love. 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 Somebody, 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 find me somebody to love. Can anybody find me somebody to love? Find me somebody to love. Find me somebody to love. Find me, find me, find me, find me, find me somebody to love.
He's really hitting the dabs there. Wow, what a piece of work by him. A real project that, isn't it? I can only imagine how much time it takes. My only real other experience of this kind of multi-track stuff is Peter Hollins. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Great cover of a great song. Let's just go over some final few bits. So where we carried on, we get this epic section in the original song. It completely disrupts what we might expect from a popular song in terms of structure. In the original, we've got many, many voices, many layers. Gradually increasing the sound in terms of texture and volume and range. Jared here, he does all those things with some slight changes here and there. The most noticeable thing, at least to me, were these two parts that kind of work polyphonically with and against each other. They cover these notes. They're really enhancing the rhythms of the layering. We can see the part going here in the bottom right.
Somebody to love, I need somebody.
Those two notes over and over. Just those two lines though working together, they're small but they have such a big impact. The rhythms are being the important thing here. I always found it quite difficult with the original song to pick apart every single voice because they're so well mixed and there are so many of them. Here Jared seems to be changing them up a little bit. At least it looks like he's not making use of the full 15 to 20 voices that he could be here. On the word love here, there's one line that sticks out to me and it's going. But then we don't hear it again. Next time it's to harmonise with the higher part. Yeah, did you hear it there? So that's an example of one of the voices, one line in itself, changing, moving up in pitch, not just repeating as the parts around it are growing. Here he does a simplified version of the high whoa. Just the two notes in the original. And here as well, another iconic note. The pitch accuracy to begin the note slightly underneath the true pitch and then slide up into it.
Somebody
To be fair, it's not as exaggerated as Freddie's.
somebody to.
And yeah, we get this nice ending section. Some of the slightly more dissonant notes seem to be a bit more obvious in Jared's version compared to the original song. One note that stands out in particular. And it works well because his voice blends best with his own voice however many other times. And he chose not to include the quite peculiar ending where we get a complete harmonic shift. Well, I think let's leave that one there. As I mentioned before, that must be a huge project. Yeah, very cool to see. He's got a great voice, there's no question about that. His voice in particular, his range, how he uses it works, well, it suits the original song very well, I think. Great choice of song to suit him. Cool, well, thank you for that request, and thanks as always to everyone for watching. Would appreciate a like and subscribe. If you enjoy my content, want to support me, join the community and vote on future polls, you can do so by joining the YouTube membership or Patreon linked below, and I will see you next time.